All right, welcome back to Practice the Pitch. And thank you, Jeffrey, for joining us. And excited to dive in and talk about things in the world and look at some music. So thanks everybody for coming back and checking it out. So yeah, let's just dive right in and talk a little bit. I'd love to hear a little bit of your background and just like what got you into the booking world and really what you're excited about.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, I appreciate you having me and, excited to do this. Like artist development is why we all got in this business. And this seems to be like the entire focus of podcasts and the show. So
Totally.
It's really what everyone builds their career on. So I started in college. I just was the student activities board director. It's a very common story for a lot of people, and they get into music and they, start to learn the ropes. And I worked at a bar. I went to Indiana University, worked at the Bluebird in Bloomington. And then I realized as I was promoting these shows through the school and using their money to do it, the artists would come and they would leave, and it would just bum me out because, I wanted to continue that process with them. And so I realized I wanted to be an agent because I loved live music. And the agent, in theory is at the time is that it was just the guide of all the live side of an artist's career, which is still truly what the nuts and bolts of an agent does. But the role has expanded over time as agencies have expanded over time. And as the entertainment business has kind of shrunk, and, you have artists that are doing things across multiple platforms and brand partnerships and other opportunities that come into play in an artist's career, which especially is very crucial at this time when it's harder to be out on the road live and in person. How do we try at least to bring value and add, whether that's through a megaphone and having a larger platform to help with music or financially in those areas. So I was fortunate to get a job out of college going to work at a company called Monterey Peninsula Artists and got to work with some of my favorite artists. Was very fortunate to have great mentors and a great mentor early on. And then from there, we became Paradigm, and I was there for almost 16 years and recently moved over to United Talent Agency, and I'm at UTA. So I'm excited to keep growing my artist roster and continue to do what I do. So that's a little bit of my history.
Cool.
Was there a second question in there?
Yeah, I love to ask people what they're excited about, what they're working on, if they're able to share, especially since this is Practice the Pitch. And what we're really talking with artists about is like what to be looking for in like approaching industry and kind of how to tell their story. And so I love to counter that by saying, hey, what's the newest thing that caught your attention and has you excited?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of new young things that I'm excited about, and a few of them have happened in very different ways to how they've piqued my interest. I mean, the newest one, I guess there'd be two newer ones, but this girl named Salem Elise, who is an incredibly talented singer-songwriter and pop artist. And you could just tell by the way her Instagram was crafted, everything. She had a unique style, a unique voice. And she had a song, Mad at Disney, that was just in gut instinct is incredible. And then it started to really go. And now it's like off to the races. But then when I heard the amount of material she had coming behind it and that level of quality that she was writing, and she's a star in the making. And it just moved me. So I'm really excited about that one. Other young things that I'm working on that I guess, again, there's a lot, but
that's cool.
Yeah. There's a band called The Brook and the Bluff that I'm super excited about.
I love them.
And
yeah.
So we started working with them about, probably maybe 2 years ago at this point, a year and a half ago too. But that's on the young side, but it's constantly developed, grown. And that was a promoter sent us an email and said, this band's amazing live. You should check this out.
That's cool.
Gut instinct. And then we started helping just kind of build the team around them. And, they had a good manager at the time, and a young guy, but he was really smart and great. And we just kind of dove in with him and started building it. And we built that solely on the road. And now it's tipping over and the streams are starting to go. And it feels like we're set up and poised for when we can come out of this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young stuff I'm excited about, whether it's Surfaces or this Dayglow band, who we just signed and just did Colbert last night. It's been a lot of young, exciting things. And obviously Surfaces, I signed a year and a half ago, and probably at this point, 2019. Yeah. So summer or spring of 2019 and then Sunday Best, that song just exploded and went everywhere. And now we're off to the races with them. I've had to move a tour a billion times, because nature of the world these days. But
Yep.
so a lot of really exciting things. And the reality is like a lot of the music business these days does look for data of like, especially on the label side and the A&R side, a lot of it ends up being the data side of like, they look to see what the public gravitates towards. So if a song is Shazamming, a song streaming on Spotify, a song, TikTok obviously has become an incredibly massive platform that you see something go. And then if it crosses or their Instagram following goes or, those kind of metrics, at the end of the day, there's a lot of bands out there that's happening with. And the question is it's like, at that point, I feel like I try not to ever personally fall into the line of just using that to make a decision because, for me, it really does come down to a gut instinct on, do I think this is more than a song? Is it more than a moment? If the answer to that's yes, and I can answer that for myself and I believe in it for the long haul, then I want to dive in and be a part of it. Because if it's just a song, a lot of those moments happen and fade, and then what are you left with?
Right.
And so for me, I think you wouldn't be intelligent not to look at those things and see where some trends are going. But at that point, you still have to distill it down to like who's going to, we think, take this and really run with it, because all we have is time is our biggest resource, and so if you're going to invest time in someone, you have to really commit and be in it, and so you can't do that all the time. So
I love that. I think these viral moments that happen on TikTok, I think a big thing that artists should take away from that is that, like, first of all, what I'd tell the artists all the time is like, well, you're not going to go viral on TikTok if you're not on TikTok. So figure out how to be there, and in whatever way is authentic and natural to you. You don't have to be doing dance videos or whatever, but just be authentic and try to be as many places that you can be where these viral moments are happening. But it's so important. I think one thing you said is what's happening around it and what's next. And if artists have that answer when they have the viral moment, that's where people can start to go like, okay, there's a bigger story here than just a fun thing that took off, or like something that, just caught some heat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no barrier to entry in music anymore. So the realities of, like you just said, the first step, you got to be there. You got to be, you have to be building these things because they're there for you to utilize and grow. And if it's no different than, before a lot of that stuff, like I would look for, is an artist in their hometown starting to sell some tickets. If they can sell 250 tickets, 300 tickets, 500 tickets in their hometown, well, that's an indicator that they can probably motivate people, if it's developed properly, to start doing that in other towns. Yeah. And so, you have to use your resources that you have. And again, it's also important that every artist is different. And so what works for one artist might not work for another artist. There's nuances within genres. There's nuances within, how an artist just can break through in today's landscape. But there is the ability for an artist now to disseminate your music to the masses at your fingertips, and you should utilize that and then just be ready. And I think as far as really the, for the artist, it's about connecting the dots between all of those different things that are happening. And that's one thing we're always trying to do, is like to teach them how to present the whole picture of what's going on, not just what's happening now, but what the vision is for next. And that's when people are going to want to get involved, is when something is special is very obviously happening now, but the artist knows where they're going and what they want to see happen next. And that's when the two things align, and hopefully some magic can happen. Definitely. And our artist that has a real vision of who they are that goes a long way.
Yes. So key. Well, let's jump in and take a look at some music, and then we'll do a listen and then get some feedback on the submission. So this is Practice the Pitch. Artists are always welcome to submit music for this podcast, this vidcast, and it's always open. So practicethepitch.com. You can run over there and just say, hey, I want to submit. And then we announce guests, ideally sometimes with enough time when we're super organized that you can submit specifically for the guest. And then our team will go through that and make some selections. So without further ado, I believe we're going to listen to the Kelseys. The Kelseys.
She said, just get over it. I said, give me a couple years. I wish I could be done with it, not base your face on every other girl. inside my eyes. And if I'm falling, hopelessly dreaming, I hate to wait to see the light. See the light, 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 see the light. Tell me another memory, downplay how you shape the time. Give up a little of yourself, it's easy.
All right, that was the Kelseys. Let's jump on in. What are you thinking on this?
You know, I definitely have a good sense for this style of music. A lot of my roster kind of leans this kind of alt pop realm. So I think the music's really strong. I like the video. I think I actually did go and listen on Spotify to, their most recent release, and then some of the other stuff. And I think their recorded stuff, I kind of resonated with it even more than the video that was shared right there. And
yeah, I read in the description of that video, in the description, they're like, hey, we recorded this before we even put out the actual tune. And I thought it was cool. The small thing I loved was right in the intro, like kind of a little mistake. He counts it off, and then they're like, they laugh and jump back in. And I was like, I kind of like that they didn't edit that out, just the authenticity of it showed me some personality.
The authenticity, and especially with the genre, the authenticity, creating community around yourself, I think is the number one thing you can do, and making people feel like they are a part of your world and that they want to be a part of that, I think truly is what will separate. I mean, obviously great music separates the pack at the end of the day, but if you can create a world around yourself that people want to be a part of, I think that also, and letting people see those moments is really, really nice. But I think, again, great sound. Again, this is its exact type of band that, they're doing what they need to do by releasing great music, and they need to just keep, I shouldn't say they need to, if I was them, I would just keep utilizing, all the resources at their disposal of social media, and just continue to write these great songs, and people will take note, and then eventually, obviously, when they can get back to live, like that will be a thing. But for now, that's not on the table at the very moment. So fortunately, a band like this can continue to create content and create great music and get it out in the world.
Yeah. And I think that with the songs, and then with the versions of the songs it's not totally cleaned up, we get to see their talent, right? Like we get to see that it's not this like super cut and dry, thing. It just seemed really natural and really fun. And I think that'll go a long way for the fan building through the digital space. And hopefully that'll translate to tickets on the other end when they're ready to do that. I think circling back to what you said of the hometown thing of, when they come back out and can play shows, trying to get to that, 250 in their hometown and that type of thing, for the live stuff. Can you speak a little bit to expand on that a little bit for these local bands?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I always would say. Focus on your hometown, your region, and start building that out so you can create, again, a culture, a scene where people want to come. And as you develop that out, I'd pick like a 300-mile radius of so they're from Ann Arbor, I believe. And so I definitely, it's a great college town. I would be focusing on Ann Arbor, Madison, like the college towns around Bloomington, Indiana. Like there's like a little radius that you can almost draw. And I would focus on those type of cities and how you can start building that out. And then one of those gigs starts selling tickets, then you get, the luxury of the promoter in town saying, hey, you should support this national tour, which then gets the attention of like, okay, well, that's cool. Well, you're getting suggested to open for one of my artists. That's a good sign. And then again, at the end of the day, like it could be as simple as like, they just put the right song. Again, FOMO was a great song on their website. And this song Pedestrian is really, really great. So like that alone could get the attention of the right person to start following them, and it could turn into something down the road as all the pieces continue to come together and we hear more music.
Love it. We'll be keeping in touch with the Kelseys and can't wait to share feedback with them. All right, we're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, we will be with Manny Blu as our 0 to 60 featured artist. So thanks everybody, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Practice the Pitch, and welcome Manny Blu, 0 to 60 featured artist here with us today. What are we going to be watching?
An unreleased song that we got to record live with the band. Had a lot of fun with it. It's a song that I really like. It means a lot to me, and I think it's sort of country punk.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. I like on your hat there, country punk.
That's right. Yep.
Dig it. Okay. What's the song called? Tell us a little bit more about
it. The song
is
called 95. It was kind of brought to me at a very interesting time. You know, it's about, sometimes you don't think that the person you're dating is the one for you until you're far apart and you realize that they are. And I was going through that, and that's how I took the song. And I couldn't be happier with the way we were able to play it sort of our way and able to play live and really have some fun with it.
Cool. Well, let's take a look. Manny Blu, 95, unreleased new song, right? Okay, cool. And this is the live version. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So here we go.
Summertime in 95, she's a youngin', baptized by sunshine, free forever. Thought I knew it all, I had a strong will, left her cold as a stone. I had a brave heart, just like my mother did, could shake the world on my own. And I still have to say, someday you're gonna be grown up, someday you're gonna feel yourself falling in love. Even days you're gonna wonder if you've done enough, maybe said too much. Don't forget the road you grew up on, don't forget who's been there all along. Don't forget to steer your wheel back home. 17 was like a dream played out in moments. Whoa, she was a true love, couldn't get never that sweet emotion.
All right. That was 95 by Manny Blu as part of the Live and Turned Up series that you're doing. Cool. Yeah. All right. Jeffrey, tell us what you're thinking. What are your first vibes off of the song?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, like when you watch it, the immediate thing that comes to mind is like great live band. And it's an unfortunate time right now because you can't play live, but you're the type of band, the exact type of band I would suggest like needs to play live. And in a normal world, I would say you need to start, and kind of like what we were talking about earlier, picking where your hometown, obviously, or where are you going to be based, and then picking like the radius around that city to like start playing and just really play, getting in front of people, because that's how this band I think is going to win and start to win. And then again, while you continue to write and release this, really strong music. But I do think there's a really palpable live element to what you're doing. You can't do that right now. So what's the next best thing you can do is create videos where you can actually show that to people, how this is a live thing. So I think creating a content series like this is really important for your band specifically, because that's where you're going to live very heavily. And as you write and release more music, hopefully you start seeing that fan base roll. I actually love the idea that you have this country punk brand. I think it's awesome. I represent a guy named Rustin Kelly, and I've represented Rustin for 10 years, and he has this dirt emo, and it's like his own brand. He isn't country, and it actually started because someone asked him what he was, and that's kind of what he said, and it stuck. But now it's like it's a thing. And so anyway, I think it's really cool that you have this country punk moniker, and I would continue like driving with that, creating content that like shows people how great this band is live. And then as soon as we can get back live and in person, I would start figuring out how to like pick those towns that you can get gigs regularly to start creating this fan experience that you can then grow. And then as the music continues to grow and evolve, similar to what we're saying in other genres now, like you'll start seeing something's going to catch, and then there'll be that moment where it all just like tips over in dominoes.
Yeah.
Love that, man.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I mean, I've been always saying for a long time that my favorite thing exciting. And I think the band as well, our favorite thing to do is play live. And you know, you can only say that for so long until you can prove it. And I think that, you know, I got to give my hat off to the guys. We had a lot of fun filming that, but that's, you know, what the show is. So, you know, it's really cool to hear you say that for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it definitely feels it.
Tell us a bit about the history, Manny, like where the band came from and like kind of where COVID notwithstanding and the pandemic and all that, but kind of where it's headed and all that.
Yeah. Well, when I first came down to Nashville, I was just hanging out, trying to, you know, doing the Nashville thing, going out and networking and doing all that stuff. But I think it was Nathan who told me that I need to find a drinking buddy. And he introduced me to Joey, who is my drummer still to this day. He was the first guy that we had. He told me, he goes, "Hey, I got this guitar player who's awesome. He's one of my favorite guys to play with here. We used to play in a rock band together." And I said, "Okay, let's have, you know, let's go for drinks and check it out." We did. We hit it off. And the three of us been together ever since. And we just have a lot of fun off and on stage, you know, even at rehearsal and just we hang out almost every day, whether we're rehearsing or not. And we just enjoy the friendship and that's really cool. And so we like a lot of things very similar. We also like very different things, which makes for a fun dynamic. And, you know, we're just having fun right now. I think that this was a great idea to put together and kind of show off, you know, all the 2020, the beginning of 2020 was supposed to be the start of us touring as much as we possibly can, take every date that we could. And we really prepared our show for it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to show that off much last year. So, you know, getting an opportunity to kind of put these types of videos and live songs together makes it all worthwhile. I think, you know, it kind of can showcase what we can do and what the heart and the root of the band is.
Love it. What's next? What can we expect from you in 2021?
More videos like this. You know, we enjoy showcasing some other skills that we have on covers. So we're doing sort of our versions of covers live. Got some new music coming out as well, recorded, and I can't wait to have it all out. I think there's going to be some very different sides of me that people haven't seen quite yet, which is always exciting. It's annoying at first because you want everyone to see everything you've got, but, you know, obviously you got to release it a certain way. And I think we're doing that. I think I got a great team behind me that can put that plan together really, really well and just basically utilizing as much as we can with what we've got. So hopefully by the fall we can hit the road again, and we're staying busy and we're staying sharp. So I can't wait to keep going.
Yeah, just write as much as you can right now and keep that rolling. So then when you can't go out, you're ready and you have material. And again, in the meantime, like we talked about earlier before we had you on, you know, there's really no barrier to entry to releasing your music to the public. So you can do that. You can get it out. You can, you know, continue to hone your craft, write with as many people as you can. Cause I mean, you referenced, you know, you got the song. So like continue to write and hone that craft in this time is a good thing too. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Love it. We're still mid-pandemic, figuring this stuff out with all the content and video and stuff. What are you all seeing? What are you hoping for, Jeffrey, this year from what artists think they can expect? I know no one has a crystal ball, but should people start planning for shows this year, do we think, especially the young artists and the developing artists?
It's a very, very tough question. There's obviously no one has a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen as far as it's like the vaccine rollout's going to be the obviously the crucial piece to this, and the testing capabilities and how quickly we can do that for large scale touring. You know, I think there is an appetite to be out there live and in person again. It's just a matter of when it's socially acceptable and when it's safe, you know?
Yeah.
I think, sorry, I have kids in the background because
we're
working from home, as you can
working from home.
So if you hear screaming, that's what that is. So anyway, I've planned a lot of tours that we planned. A lot of my bands are already planned out through, you know, we have summer into the fall. Summer, you know, is getting a little nervous. So now it's like fall, and some people are already looking into 22. I think as a young artist, you're in a different situation though. And I think that fortunately, like, you know, with larger artists that need like longer on sale windows and marketing windows, because you're selling more and more and more tickets, like, and you want to protect yourself and insulate that window to have a marketing pool, you need to kind of project farther out and try. And so for my artist, I've definitely pushed, you know, and try to have the venues that are properly held, the proper tours ready to go. And we're just sitting back and waiting to know, like, when can we announce this? Can we announce this tour for September, October, November in March? Does it need to be announced in April? And then at what point do we need to then pull the trigger and say, okay, this isn't happening or move here, or it is? I think that for younger artists though, we're also also seeing a lot of people just moved and the industry started like projecting really far out. And now they're realizing, oh, well, that window doesn't work for our current plans. So other venues are starting to open back up and people are looking then to fill some of those. But I think for a younger artist, they had the fortune of figuring out how to wait a second to see what the landscape, because you don't need this like massive on sale window in a smaller venue or a smaller club. You have the luxury of waiting and then just like probably booking it. Because right now, let's say all of a sudden and the vaccines really start to roll, and by like July, August or whatever, a lot of those clubs, people have already moved farther out. So like you can probably go snag some of those and get in a little earlier, and you don't need this long on sale window. You could do it with 2 months, a month, and go from there and really get into it. So I think that's something, we're going to start seeing a lot of socially
being ready.
Just being ready to go and watching it. We're watching it daily and trying to do as much socially distanced stuff as we can, figure out if there is an avenue for that. So I just put up a tour with Jamie Johnson trying to figure that out, and it's gone incredibly well. So clearly there's a big appetite, but again, not every artist can do that. He has very specific, he's one person with a guitar is how we're going to roll this one out rather than this full monster, his normal 12-piece band, which we can't wait to get back to because it's an incredible show. And, obviously we want to actually get as many people fed and on the road as possible. I mean, it's that says something for all of our artists, how we got connected. I mean, people are trying to get by, and we all want the quickest we can get back out so we can get people's jobs back online. And there's a lot of reasons that we want it to happen. But for a young artist, I think you'll have a little bit more time to be reactive and shorter leash that you'll need.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. Well, we got one more piece to review here. This is an artist that submitted in. One more time, plug for practicethepitch.com. If you're watching this, thank you everybody who has watched this. We want to hear your music. We've got a team listening to everything that comes in. If we announce a guest and you want to submit specifically for that guest, jump in there, but just submit anytime. We're always taking submissions at practicethepitch.com. So if you're an artist and you want to get your content out there and get some feedback on it, please jump over there and submit. This is an artist named Crunch, and I'm super, I thought this was a really fun submission that we want to take a look at. So without further ado, Crunch.
I'm falling in anger, who I am coming to fruition, yeah, I'll return to never again, that's right, I look back, I'm trying to stretch out my eyes. Hold back tears, no you don't love yourself, it appears, no you don't love yourself, no limiting, you're issue like gold class, get ready to get knocked on your ass.
All right, Crunch. Let's talk about it. What'd you guys think?
Great band name. I dig the spelling. I thought it was great. The energy, the vibe. Obviously, this is not, I will be first to admit, this is not my normal genre. So I don't know that I'm as equipped to advise but the reality is it's kind of goes back to the country punk thing that we were talking about with Manny, though. It's like, it's a culture,
Right.
And when you can create that culture, that's seen as a culture. So if they have this energy and this, I would totally hone in on their age, their demo, create a scene around them. And if that scene starts building, the industry will take note. And I think it's, but as for, sonically, it's hard for me to, it's just not what I listen to every day in the car. So, but from a business building block perspective, it's all about the scene.
It's all about the scene. Manny, what'd you think?
I loved it. When I started watching it, I didn't realize how young they were. It's really cool to see people of that, that age playing that well, first of all, and and playing that kind of music. So I dig it. I thought it was awesome. I thought they were tight. I thought the song was cool. I love the lights and the whole stage show and the flag and everything was really, really cool. So yeah, I mean, I think the only
he gets out there, he's waving the flag.
Waving the flag. Yeah, I think the only thing I would do is if for more as I can speak on for the singer and as a performer entertainer, I would just have him, even when he, during the instrumental stuff, just own the stage, just move more and just enjoy the moment and, go over to the guitar players and really vibe with them and don't be scared of that. But other than that, I thought they were awesome.
I loved it. This took me back. This was the music I made. I shared before we jumped in. I said, hey, I was in a band for 10 years. Well, this is where we started. And then we grew up a bit and we started trying to do less of the metal and stuff like that. But this took me right back to high school and the scene and building that scene. And what's so funny to me is like, it's still alive and well. You have to find your crew, you have to find your people. And commercially, it's about building, I think, and just like finding the fans and stuff like that. It might not be something that, jumps out like, straight away, but I love getting it out there. And I think to your point, Manny, like I was impressed with the tightness of the group for the age and was like, okay, cool. That type of thing. And it's just about doing it. And that's what I love about this is like, it's just about doing it and building a path.
It's super cool.
Yeah. Love it. Well, just while we're here, just want to say thank you to both of you for joining us and listening to these tunes. If you have one piece of advice for the next generation of artists, just let's sign off with just like what's a one-line pointer. Jeffrey, go ahead.
Oh man, I was hoping you were calling Manny first.
I was glad he called you for it.
yeah. I was gonna give me a chance to think, but hopefully my rambling will give me a chance to think while I'm talking. No, I mean, I think it can't go understated that the bands that really make it, people think that things are overnight successes, right? And the reality is that's not the case. The biggest bands of all time are big for a reason. A, they're geniuses and they make amazing music. But B, they had the drive and they wanted it and they, were fighting early on in their scene to be heard and to constantly battle. And you're going to hear a lot of no's sometimes until you hear the yeses, but you have to be resolved in what you're doing. You have to put in the work. If you do that, and it's great. I have a, feeling that the cream rises to the top. So, but you have to be willing to put in the work. So that's probably the best advice I can say is that keep digging in.
All right. Manny Blu, 0 to 60 featured artist. You've come through it. You've done it now. What's something you've learned?
Enjoy the small wins. I think that there's a lot of, it's quite a mountain to climb when you start off. There's still a lot of work to do, very, very few times you get there and it's over. So like Jeffrey said, you got to keep working, but enjoy the small W's on the way to the top because it's grueling. So every time you see a little bit of sunlight, for sure, it helps mentally, physically, emotionally. It definitely helps. So build every time you lose. Just understand why and build on that and enjoy the small W's, I'd say.
I love it.
Yeah.
My thought of the day, y'all, that just has been back to this authenticity. I think we saw it in all three submissions from the Kelseys with their first video where they leave this click off and they got to start over. And it just endeared me to them immediately. Manny, the 95, the energy you guys brought to that song, and then Crunch, bring in all the crunch. It's just to really like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and like be who you truly are. If pandemic has taught us anything, it's that there's no time like the present. You can't really know what's around the corner. So there's no point in being fake or doing something that you don't love. So just lean into who you are and then find your people. I think there's been a lot of great advice here in this episode. So thank you both for sharing and for everybody watching. Tune in next time and submit a song if you're an artist. Tell a friend. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Yeah.